Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. I am Natasha of class 12, PSBB Siriseri, and it is my privilege to welcome you all to day 22 of Vidya Shakti, a talent exposition by the students of PSBB in honor of the astounding patroness of the arts, Dr. Mrs. YGP. A leading visionary who lived an exemplary and outstanding life of service to further excellence in several fields, particularly in education. Her extraordinary exploit in this field, coupled with her faith and openness to other belief systems, makes her a pioneer and an example for all of us to follow.
Vidya Shakti. मेधा शक्ति कलाश्रया शक्ति
विद्या शक्ति
Men may come and men may go, but PSBB will go on forever.
Being Thursday, we begin today's program with salutations to Lord Dakshinamurti.
साक्षात् परब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। अटमिटपि समीटे भूमिमाके निषद्ना सकलमुनि चदानां ज्ञानदातारमाराग त्रिपुवरगुरुमीशं दक्षिणामूर्तिदेवम् जनन मरण दुःखच्चेरदक्षं नमामि। चित्रं मठधरोरुले विद्या शिष्या गुरुर्युवां गुरोस्तु मौनं व्याख्यानं शिष्यास्तु छिन्न संशयाः। ॐ नमः प्रणवार्थाय शुद्धज्ञानैकमूर्तये निर्मलाय प्रशान्ताय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः।
The Divine Talisman, a secular prayer in Tamil, when by YGP ma'am in the middle of a night, is given to the students of class 10 and 12 during the solemn candlelight ceremony. She invokes the pantheon of gods to shower the blessings on her students. The printed talisman, a lit diya, and the blessings of their gurus gives the holder the power to dispel darkness, the darkness of ignorance and vices. Needless to say, the efficacy of this tradition has worked and will continue to work wonders.
ஸ்ரீ குருபியோ நமஹா. நமது பள்ளி மாணவர்கள் வெற்றி நடை போட ஓரிரவில் வரம் கேட்ட ராஜலட்சுமிக்கு இறைவன் தந்தார் 6 வரங்கள். திருமதி ராஜலட்சுமி அவர்கள் கேட்ட வரங்களை கேட்டு மகிழ்வோம் வாருங்கள்.
ஓம் கணேசாய நமஹ. ஓம் நமோ நாராயணாய. ஓம் நமச்சிவாய. ஓம் சரவணபவாய. 12 தோள் படைத்த கந்தன் நானே வந்துரைத்தேன். 12ஆம் வகுப்பினரே, செவ்வாய் தோறும் என்னை அழைத்த உங்களுக்கு ஆறுமுகத்தான் அறுபடை வீட்டினின்றே 6 வரம் தருவேன் நானே. விடைத்தாளை எழுப்பீர் நீரே.
திங்களன்று என் அன்பு அண்ணன் கணபதி உங்கள் குழப்பம் தீர்க்க விக்னம் ஏதும் இன்றி போவீர் என்றெனக்கு உறுதி கூற சென்று வாரீர் தேர்வினிற்கு வெற்றி பாகை சூடிடுவீர்.
செவ்வாயன்று என் வேலின் கூர்மை மீது உங்கள் புத்தி தீட்டி என் சேவல் உம்மை தட்டி எழுப்ப விடைகளை எழுதி குவிப்பீர்.
புதன்கிழமை என் மாமன் ராமன் கருணை கூர்ந்த உங்கள்தனை அறியாமை என்ற கடலை தாண்ட தன் அறிவை சேது பந்தனமாக தந்து உம்மை கரையேற்றிடுவார்.
வியாழனன்று என் தந்தை ஈசன் சங்கடமின்றி விடைகளை தருவார். என் அன்னை சக்தி பக்தி செய்யும் உங்களுக்கே தந்திடுவார் சக்திதனை.
வெள்ளியன்று வெள்ளை கலையுடுத்தி கலைவாணி வந்து உங்கள் குரு கூறிய பாடம் முழுதும் நாவிலே எழுத அவை பேனாமுனையில் தோன்றிடுமே.
மால் மருகன் என்றும் என்னை அழைப்பர். கண்ணன் எனக்கு இல்லை என மாட்டான். ஹே கோபாலா என்றழைத்த உம்மை கைவிடேன் என்று உறுதி கூற வாரம் எல்லாம் மகிழ வைக்க தெரிந்த வினாவாக தந்து வெற்றி 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 என்ற இன்பம் தருவான் ஏழுமலையான். என் அன்னை தந்தை குருவுமாகி இயேசு, அல்லாஹ், ராமா, கிருஷ்ணா, முருகன், நமசிவாயம் என்ற என்னை இந்த சிறு துதிதனை எழுத வைத்த சகுன பிரம்மமே, உன் அடிப்பணியும் ராஷ்மியையும் வாழ்த்தி ஏற்றுக்கொள்வீரே.
வரங்களை கேட்டதும் கொடுத்தார் இறைவன். அன்றும் இன்றும் நமது பள்ளி மாணவர்கள் வெற்றிக்கனியை பறிக்க வழிநடத்துவது நமது அம்மா திருமதி ராஜலட்சுமி என்பதில் சிறிதும் மையமில்லை.
What's in a name, that which we call a rose? By any other name would smell as sweet, said Shakespeare. Madras or Chennai, YGP ma'am loved the city. Its music, its season, its theatre festival, Navratri, Diwali, and the long drive along the Marina. Anchored in an ancient culture of devotion, the Dravidian city, Madras, is not just a city, it's an emotion. Let us join in the celebrations.
Happy birthday, Madras!
Huh?
Yeah, didn't you know Madras was founded today?
I see. Which year?
1639, soon after the Dutch established their fort at Pulicat.
Wow, how did you get to know?
My social studies teacher told me.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Madras Day Tribute. Today we are here to talk about legacy. A legacy of a legend we all know and love. By the year 1831, Madras had been conquered by the British. The British thought Madras quite ideal for one of the first major ports that they would build in India.
And so the work started, a mere lighthouse city at first. Gradually, it became one of the foremost harbour cities of the nation to this day. The first bank was also built and a census taken. This brought Madras to the next level in the fields of commerce, trade and infrastructure. Today, Chennai is fondly admired as the land of religious harmony and flourishing framework. To name some magnificent sites: Ripon Building, Madras Museum, Santam Cathedral Church, Thousand Lights, Marina Beach and Kabalishwara Temple.
Hello there, miss. Mind telling me where exactly the Bengal Association is?
Oh, hello. Yeah, it's just right there when you keep on moving along the main road after PSBPT Nagar.
I see. Will do. Thank you.
Hey, do you know how I can find KM Specialty Hospital? I was told by my doctor to visit it.
Hi, have you never been here before? Well, you get off right here, and it's down the street behind the gate of PSBP KK Nagar.
Well, thanks. That clears things up a lot.
No probs.
Didn't Sharon ask me to search for law colleges here? Okay, I guess I'll look. Ambedkar Law College seems good, doesn't it? Oh, I see. It's close to PSBB Suraseri. Now I'll have no trouble for sure.
Good evening. I'm rather lost and I need to deposit a check. I'm looking for the Indian Overseas Bank. Is that close by?
Oh yeah, for sure. It's right down Lake Area Main Road, and if you go just after PSBB, you'll find yourself at your destination.
Thanks for the help.
Our visionary guru ensured that PSBB became the leading torch in the field of education. And this saga goes to show the importance of PSBB, not only as a building, not only as a pile of cement, as a landmark that truly justifies the duty we have towards keeping a fire lit and a superwoman's dream alive.
A cultured erudite woman, YGP ma'am, was intimately familiar with the world of high-class literature. Her favorite pieces included Shakespearean plays such as You Like It, The Merchant of Venice, and Macbeth. She indulged her romantic side with the musical King and I, while her favorite Broadway play was My Fair Lady, which stresses on the importance of language, which she believed shapes the way we think and determine what we can think about. The poem From Here to Eternity is an ode to the loving and intelligent nature of YGP ma'am.
Big Miss Rashmi of Education, the Reigning Queen. PSBB's beloved Director and Dean, Dr. Mrs. YG Parthasarathy. Indomitable spirit, bold heart, and progressive ideals have always set her a class apart.
But the reason she continues to live forevermore in her students' hearts is the faith she had in us and our ability to reach the stars.
Shakespeare, movies, My Fair Lady and Escape to Victory. In her eyes, there was no work of art beyond our mental capabilities. A past as vice chairman of the Film Censor Board gave her a discerning taste for the silver screen she adored.
A penchant for movies, plays, and Broadway alike. She wanted her students to partake in these delights. Trips to the theatre in between classes, the unique experiences that separate PSBB students from the masses.
Wide-eyed, we'd watch stories unfold before our eyes, mentally composing our essay drafts in our mind. We wrote critiques, analysis, and reflections, each one she read and responded to with loving attention.
Handwritten notes evaluating each student's essay. The memory of her love will stay with us even as the ink fades away. Years after students graduate, she could still recall their names and watched with pride as her children soared to greater heights.
Raising the standard for the teaching profession, our trailblazer had utmost faith in her students. No condescension, only ascension, inspiring teachers and students alike to scale greater and greater heights.
Molding young minds, helping students find their passions, to unlock their innate abilities, to surpass even their teachers themselves. Such was the aim of YG Parthasarathy.
a beacon of tradition and grace. For many years to come, her legacy will remain.
We, the students of PSBB, swear to strive to make her proud, for we know for a fact on us she is still looking down.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. The great literarian and educationist YGP Ma'am was convinced that the study of language was very important in shaping the way one thinks and determines what one can think about. Ma'am, an ardent fan of George Bernard Shaw, especially his play Pygmalion, which later became a famous musical titled My Fair Lady, opinioned like Shaw that life isn't about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself. Ma'am believed that the Guru is instrumental in helping the Sishya create himself. The English labs at PSBB indeed are the launch pads for such transformations. Truly, we feel a presence in our midst as we recreate this scene from My Fair Lady. Here, let us look at how one of the speech lessons panned out.
The rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain.
The rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain.
The rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain.
Didn't I say that too?
Forget sigh, you didn't even say that. Now every morning during your prayer, I want you to say, the rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain 50 times. The Lord will be better pleased once you get the pronunciation correct.
Did he expect me to get it right on the first attempt itself?
Now for your ages. God, this is gonna be ghastly. In Hereford and Hampshire, hurricanes hardly happen.
In Hereford and Hampshire, hurricanes hardly happen.
Have you no ear at all? Can you not hear the difference?
Shall I do it over?
Now, try saying here now.
Here.
Go on.
Here.
Now, enough of the H for now. Try saying how kind of you to let me come.
How kind of you to let me come.
No, kind of you. How kind of you to let me come.
How kind of you to let me come.
Oh no, kind of you, like a cup of tea. Say a cup of tea.
A cup of tea.
No, cup of tea. Now try it again.
A cup of tea.
Dear me. Now put your tongue forward until it squeezes on top of your lower teeth and say cup of tea.
A cup of tea.
Well, that's enough progress for one day. Off you go now.
As the story progresses, we see that Eliza's hard work and determination pays off. Her slang gradually disappears and she passes off as a lady. Also, Professor Higgins regrets his condescending attitude towards Eliza, and the story draws to a close with a sensible realization.
Voices of yesteryears, our dear alumni, as they regale our years with anecdotes and thrilling tales of our beloved YGP ma'am. We have with us Mr. Kumar Rajan, CEO and CTO of CAD-CAM-E, batch of 1974, Nungambakam. Mr. Sanjay Vaidyanathan, founder and partner, Eternity Capital LLP, batch of 2002, Nungambakam, and Dr. Vasumati Vedantam, consultant ophthalmologist and medical director, Radhatri Netralaya, batch of 1990, KK Nagar.
Hi, so let me talk about Mrs. YGP and my recollection of what happened in school. I was a 6th standard student back in 1969, and I was a pretty mediocre student. I was not very interested in academics, and my dad has pretty much given up on me, but he had a lot of faith in Mrs. YGP to setting things straight with me. And for 2 years, 6th and 7th standard, I wasn't much of a student. I tried to have more fun in school than really be interested in education. And I was plodding along just fine. In those days, if you score 40 points out of 100 in every subject, it is considered a passing grade. And trust me, I got anywhere from 40 to 45 in every subject, all through 6th. And in 7th, actually I failed a couple of subjects also, going under 40. And by the end of 7th grade, I think my dad had pretty much given up on me, and kind of threw up his hands and said, you do what you want. Yeah, I don't care, do what you want. And Mrs. YGP didn't say much. She did tell my dad, yeah, you got to give him some time. Let's see what he does next year. But even in those days, if you didn't perform well in the 8th grade, the 9th grade, they kind of asked you to leave the school. So I was in danger of that. But when I came back for the 8th grade, Mrs. YGP did something innovative. There were about 120 students in that class, in that 8th grade. And we had 3 sections, A, B, and C. She took the best 40 students and placed them in section A, and the next best 40 students and placed them in section B. And the bottom of the barrel, the last set of 40 students, went to section C. And guess where I ended? Section C. So I was one among 40 students who were considered at risk of being thrown out of the school. But you know what? It never registered with me. I didn't even know what that meant. I was busy playing cricket. I was busy enjoying my music. I didn't really care about what happened in school. During that year, somewhere in the early part of the year, the English teacher had to take a month off, and Mrs. YGP stepped in and started teaching English literature for us. That was the first time I've seen Mrs. YGP teach. Until I saw her teach, I didn't quite understand what teaching meant. She didn't teach the class. She acted out every scene. Didn't quite understand what that meant at that time, but now when I think back, I wonder how someone can come to an 8th grade class and decide acting is a better way to teach than just talking about it. But it worked. At least it worked for me. I said, I'm going to learn something from this. I'm going to learn something from this class. And sure enough, I did score high on the tests in English literature. I was actually in the top of the class. By the middle of the year, I was in the top of the class with 2 or 3 subjects. And by the end of the year, I was near the top of the class for nearly all the subjects. Okay, it wasn't much. It was in the top of the class at the bottom third. But it meant a lot to me. And my dad finally realized that I could do something with my life. And he really believed in Mrs. YGP from that point forward. Everything she said was gospel to him. So I graduated 8th grade, near the top of my class, thinking, well, I'm going to come back to 9th grade, I'll be the king of the class. But Mrs. YGP, she always has a new thing every day. We come back on the 9th grade, And she does the same thing all over. She takes the top 15 people in each class and shuffles them again. So I ended up in the A grade along with 39 other good students. And I started really worrying where my grades were going to go. I don't know what happened. I started taking education quite seriously. That Mrs. YGP brought some of the best teachers that I was lucky enough to work with. Mr. Ramchandran for math, Miss Hema for English, Miss Pushpa for I think it's science, I'm not sure, I don't remember that much. But they were the best crop of teachers that I was lucky enough to have in my 9th grade. The spark that she lit in me stayed with me right through 9th, 10th, 11th, and right on through matriculation. So I graduated near the top of the school, near the top of my class during matriculation. That was my experience with her. And I never forgot what innovation in any field can do. Mrs. YGP showed me innovation is the cornerstone of everyone's life, and I've taken it very seriously. So Mrs. YGP, thanks for setting me on the right path, and thanks for being the turning point that I was able to see my own potential. I presume you did it much before me. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Sanjeev Vaidyanathan. I finished my 12th standard from PSBB Main School in 2002. My first memory of Mrs. YGP was when I met her right after my interview to get into PSBB, that is for my 4th standard. And they had asked me to recite a poem, and I decided to recite my own poem, and I told her that, and she laughed at it, and that's when I first remember meeting her. Many years later, when I did come to later standards and was in main school, I think by the 12th standard we were the classroom. It was one room away from her office, so we got to meet her for good reasons, and whenever we were too noisy, more often than she would have liked. But interestingly, I was fortunate that she came to my wedding again many years later. And she not only remembered my name, but she was actually, her memory was so good that she remembered some of my friends' names too, and she asked about them. So those are my memories of Ms. YGP. Thank you, and Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. I am Dr. Vasumati Vedantam, alumnus of PSBB KK Nagar. I passed out in 1990. Dr. Mrs. YGP has always been a role model for me. And there are many life lessons which I have learned from her life. I like to share 2 of these with you today. She was always open to the possibilities of finding out what is the present now and how to use it to improve the situation that one is in. I still remember she listened to me for more than half an hour when I went on and on about my surgeon's chair, how I use it while I'm operating, what are the techniques and how it supports my back, etc. She was so keen to try it out and use it herself to see if it would improve her mobility. But unfortunately, she passed away before she could try it. But that was the first most important lesson that she passed on to me. How always to keep your mind open. How to always keep it open to the different possibilities. And how not to get bogged down and resign yourself to the current situation that you're in. She was always beautifully dressed, neatly dressed, whatever be the occasion, big or small. Be it a small scale PSBB school event, or be it a big mega award function where she was honored amongst some thousands of people. She always put her best foot forward, and that showed the importance that she gave to the audience. Be it a group of teachers, be it a group of students, or be it a group of us PTA members, or be it a 10,000 odd mega audience. And I always used to admire the way she was immaculately dressed for any occasion. And when I used to compliment her about her matching sari, her blouse and her flowers, her eyes used to light up with a childlike delight. She never lost the zest for her life. And that's the second most important lesson that I learned from her. How not to let the things which have got you physically down in the first place, how not to let those things get to you. How not to let those things get to you in spirit. I miss you, ma'am. All of us miss you, ma'am. But your spirit lives on in the corridors of PSBB and in the hearts of all the teachers and students. Thank you, ma'am.
Stay tuned for another enthralling episode of Vidya Shakti tomorrow at 6 p.m. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.
Vidya Shakti. Medha Shakti. Kalashaya Shakti.